I believe, again, getting back to what Elko is doing, I believe that he is going to present the Screaming Faithful a feast of victories. Right now, you guys are at Costco and he's buying the groceries, okay? You ain't there yet. He hadn't cooked nothing, but it's coming.
In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, two souls make sense of it all, or at least have fun trying. Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog.
Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy who only yells when it's necessary, the chicken. What up, dog?
Happy SEC Media Days to all of you non-yelling fans and also to you khaki abusing yelling fans.
And with us most of the time is B-Dog. Thanks, B-Dog, for being here, keeping us straight. We need it bad.
Absolutely. Glad to be back. Miss y'all on the Carolina episode.
Yeah, we missed you for sure. Like the chicken said, we do have, it is the SEC Media Day week. That is happening in ATL, I believe. And one of the rumors that's going around right now, which I think most everybody would think that it's ridiculous. I myself think that it's probably ridiculous, that it will never happen, is that the return of the GOAT, Nick Saban, back to college football. I don't see it happening. He's 74 years old, making great money, having to, get on a microphone for a few hours every Saturday. I don't think he's leaving that job.
No, it's absolute hokum. He's not coming back. And listen, nothing against Nick Saban, demonstrated greatness over his career, right? But what Power 5 or 4 or wherever we're at now, school, legitimate program, is going to say, let's bring him in for 3 years before he says, you know what, I'm out. This was fun. I came back. Nobody. And Nick Saban, to his credit, isn't coming back to Kennesaw State or Colorado State or even a Coastal Carolina, a school that's in a lower conference, but they're competitive. He's not going to do that. He's not going to pull, as a Carolina guy, he's not going to pull a Lou Holtz and come into a program to bring them from the bottom of the barrel to mediocrity, average, just so he can then say, you know what, cool, I'm out. He's not going to do that. Quit while you're ahead.
See, I think he thinks that way without a doubt. I think he thinks that way. However, do I think all programs think that way? And I'm going to say no. And the reason I say that is because Bill Belichick is 78 years old. Now, is North Carolina, Chapel Hill, are they, an Alabama, an LSU, or Georgia, or Texas? No, they're not. But they're still a Power 5. They're still somewhat of a premier school, but they did it with a 78 or 8-year-old. I think if a team, if Saban shared interest in coming back, a premier school would bring him back. However, I just don't think he wants to.
But Belichick, that's not a fair comparison. And I'll say it this way. You have a 78-year-old human being with the mindset of a 34-year-old young man, right? Like he's dating 20-year-old girls.
That's right.
He's like, I'll bring North Carolina to national prominence. Okay, ease up, Scooter. No, you won't. I mean, what a happy dream. But that ain't happening on the football field. And last I checked, Belichick does not know basketball. So
no.
Good luck with that whole thing. Nick Saban, and you could say this about Belichick on an NFL level. Nick Saban is the best college football coach that we have seen. So he's not going to, and I'll borrow the ACC, he's not going to Wake Forest. He's not going to NC State. Like, he's not even going to a reputable ACC school. It's not going to happen. And again, it's not going to happen for a short window of opportunity because I mean, do we honestly think that this dude's going to be coaching when he's 80-something years old? No. He's got all the accolades. He's done it all, and he's done it at more than one program.
He's got nothing to prove. Nothing to prove.
Nothing to prove. He's got a natty at LSU. He's got multiple championships at Alabama. Like, I mean, come on. What are you gonna show yourself or anybody else by going somewhere else? Nothing.
The only thing that, in my opinion, that he has a mountain to climb over. And I'm not even going to say it's a mountain. It's just maybe a goal that I thought that he was trying to do at Alabama. But I'm gonna use what Lane Kiffin said. My guy,
How you doing?
Is the NIL and all of that stuff drove the GOAT away from college football. This drove him away from achieving, I think, the one last thing that he wanted to achieve, which was he has tied Bear Bryant for the most national championships at the University of Alabama. Now, he beat Bear Bryant's record of 6 total because he has one at LSU. That was the only thing left on his resume to do. At the end of the day, do I think that it's that big of a deal for him? No, not enough to come back.
I will give you your first chicken scratch moment of this episode. Chicken Scratch brought to you by Off the Chain Kennels. We had him on last episode for South Carolina. You've met him. You've seen him on the screen. You've heard his wonderful, wise words about probably one of the best programs in the conference.
Oh, God, here we go.
OTC Kennels on Facebook and Instagram. Do you think, because I can't discount this, and I can't tell you that I don't have this information from inside sources. Isn't it funny how shortly after the announcement was made that the headgear would no longer be a part of ESPN Game Day, therefore that mantle was not passed to Saban from Corso, to where Saban could put on the headgear every week, that he said, you know what? If I can't have the headgear, maybe I'll just go back to coaching.
No.
Well,
Now, I mean, and I never thought that Saban would be the guy to put on the headgear. I don't think he's built like that. I think McAfee would have put on the headgear before.
I think that's too easy. I think that would have been a great twist if ESPN had said, look, Coach, we think that you should be the headgear guy.
Either that or bring back David Pollock.
David Pollock, you can't put the headgear on David Pollock.
Why not?
Because there's no humor aspect to it. You've got to have that irony there. We had the lovable grandpa with Lee Corso for however many decades, right? Like you have to have that twist, that irony, that here you have the wisest coach, the most accomplished college football coach, and yet at the end of the show, he humbles himself in comedic fashion to put the headgear on and wave.
Come on, Saban.
Well, come on, ESPN. Like you obviously need some consultants, and we're available. Call us.
Oh, please do. And look, we won't charge as much as most, but we won't be the cheap as anybody. How about that?
There you go.
One other thing before we get into, and this show is primarily going to recap. Well, we're going to do a couple more things. We're going to do the dog bark too, but we're going to recap, or we're going to do a forecast for the Screaming Aggies, and they've got an interesting season. But before we do, there's a couple more quick things. One, it has been confirmed that Muschamp is no longer on the Georgia staff. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows what he's doing. Maybe he just got tired and said, you know what? I'm done. I've made enough money. I don't need the money. I'm going to go lay on a beach and people watch.
Made enough money. Taken enough money.
I knew that was coming.
Who knows these things anymore? I would say, you mentioned in the Georgia show, the Georgia forecast show, that you didn't think that they would go undefeated, but you couldn't necessarily see where the loss or losses might be on their schedule. I would ask, is this what propels Georgia to an undefeated season? Is the chump is gone?
No.
Yeah, well, I would, if it happens, I was right here, right now. If Georgia goes undefeated and wins the national championship, I'm going to tell you that happened in July when Muschamp left the staff.
You know, your hatred to this guy runs deep, my friend. And I think you need some help.
Well, I think the word hate, I don't like the word hate just because as a believer, I'm not supposed to hate anybody. I disdain him. And I don't have a thesaurus to know if those two words mean the same thing. But I fully embrace my emotional barriers to Will Muschamp. I don't have a problem with it. I'm okay with it. And I would imagine that he's okay with it. I don't think at any point during his day does Will sit there and think, what can I do to mend the fence with the chicken? I don't think that happens at all. I think what happens is Will gets a check from the University of South Carolina and goes, huh?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Because, I mean, he gets paid till like he's 80, right?
Probably by us, by Florida, by whoever else he coached for. He's like, I'm still bringing it in, fellas.
He's probably even getting it from Auburn somehow, some way. Who knows?
More than likely.
Which, at this point, does bring us to our dog bark of the week, brought to you by Chicken and the Dog. And look, man, this Alabama podcast that just dropped, man, was a huge hit. You Alabama fans are great. I love you for it. Lots of views, lots of comments, lots of thumbs up. Not really any thumbs down, so you must like the Chicken and the Dog. Of course, I mean, we really didn't have any bad thing to say about Alabama at all.
And we had Senior Chief.
I mean, how can you not love the Senior Chief, right?
Exactly.
So here we go. So there's a bunch of comments. I think there's a lot. I want to go over most of them because they're really that good. One is Brada. I don't know what that means, but that's his name. Pretty cakewalk schedule, to be honest. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, it's definitely not Texas. Texas has, you never have a cakewalk schedule in the SEC, period, right? It's going to be hard regardless. Even Texas that got, in our opinions, I'm going to say, not say mine because it's our opinion on this, because I think me, you, and B-Dog all agree that Texas got gifted a lighter schedule in the SEC. But Texas still has to play Georgia in Athens this year. But Alabama has to play Georgia and Athens. They have to play Tennessee, which we all think that Tennessee could be a dumpster fire, but you never know. They have to play LSU. They have to play Auburn. They have to play Oklahoma. These aren't just easy chump teams, man. And so I don't think their schedule is the hardest in the SEC. But I don't think it's the easiest either.
Yeah, and you went down Texas's schedule, but Alabama's is certainly not a cakewalk either.
That's what I was talking about.
All right, there you go. So you got Alabama's got to play Auburn every year, which I know that Auburn is up and down right now, and we don't know what Hugh Freeze is going to put on the field this season, but they're still Auburn, and you still have those classic battles between the Tide and the War Eagle, Tiger, mascot confused identity people.
Who the heck knows?
On the plains, right? So those are always intense. Those are always impactful games. You've got South Carolina, and say what you want to, Bama fan, about South Carolina. I don't care. They are not the Gamecocks of old. Will they go 9-3 again this year? I don't know, but it's going to be a tough game in Williams-Brice Stadium for the Alabama Crimson Tide. They've got to play Georgia, as you mentioned, this year. They've got that rematch, not only with Oklahoma, but Vanderbilt. Now, we don't think that Vanderbilt is going to be all the smoke that they were last year, but they're still going to come in believing that they can win that game because they won it last year, right? So I don't see a cakewalk schedule. I see an SEC schedule. It's not the toughest schedule that Alabama has ever faced in the history of their program, but by no means do I consider it to be light.
Yeah, which kind of leads me into this next comment. It's kind of why I left out the South Carolina and Auburn, because the next comment, in my opinion, speaks volumes. This guy named Jared Adams comes back and says, South Carolina and Auburn worry me more than UGA. I mean, I kind of buy that, right? I mean, history shows that Alabama kind of owns UGA right now. Hopefully that changes this year. But he says playing in South Carolina is always tough, and I think they're trending up as a program. I don't know what they have at Whitty Out, or if their D-line is as deep and talented as previous years, but that game concerns me. Then, as always, playing at Auburn is like going to a haunted house on a Friday the 13th Halloween night. I don't get it, and I never will, but weird things just happen. With all of that, think Bama finish 11-1 at best, 9-3 at the worst, 12-0 if Ty goes 3,000 yards and 30-plus touchdowns, which is a huge possibility. He is a dark horse Heisman candidate, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with anything in his take.
I don't either. I mean, this guy may have actually graduated from the program. He
graduated class without ever even taking the class. Congratulations.
Well, I've got a guy, before you go there, and I'm not going to mention this guy just yet, but I actually have a comment I'm going to read in a minute that not only has the guy graduated, but he's gotten his doctorate from Chicken and a Dog. Just get ready.
Well, that's exciting. Exciting news. I agree completely. For whatever reason, Carolina always plays. I say always. We've had some games where Alabama comes into Columbia and legitimately rolls, right? Like the Tide rolls. I can't remember the year, but Tua was still under center, and I believe he had an ankle injury at the time, and he still came in and wore us slap out. So it happens, but we do have a solid history of playing Alabama very well at home. This game this year is in Columbia at home. And just like he said, it's like a haunted house when they go and have to play Auburn. You just never know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Jared for such a well-structured comment. That's exactly what we want to see here at Chicken and the Dog. It's comments that has some meat to it.
Absolutely. Right.
And like we've said before, if you want to give us something to chew on, then bring the meat to the table. And he did just that.
Ribeyes. Sean 600. I don't know if that means he's 600 years old or not. They aren't overlooking any games because he's talking, because I made the comment, I think, in that episode about them overlooking, this team and anyway, or looking far in the future and not looking what's in front of them. And he says they're not overlooking any games. KD, that's DeBoer, not Kevin Durant. Just want to make sure clear about that. Knows better, and he doesn't play that. Always preaches 1-0 each week. And I would agree with him that, I really would. I think he's seasoned enough coach to know that he's, especially being in the SEC, you better look at the game that's in front of you, not games ahead.
I agree. I don't care who your coach is. Saban got caught from time to time losing games that they should have won. Okay, so it happens. The best of the best to ever do it has had teams that call it whatever you want to. Call it looking past. Call it not taking their opponent as seriously as they needed to. Call it being unprepared. Call it going to Broadway the night before you play Vanderbilt in 2024. Call it whatever you want to. It happens. And Alabama is no different than any other program. Are they going to look past? No, we're focused on going 1-0 every week. Okay, fine. Then you slipped against Vanderbilt. You slipped against Oklahoma. You doggone near slipped at home against South Carolina last year. It happens. The best of the best, it happens. And in this conference where I say this with a straight face, it's like, well, no, I'll take Kentucky and Mississippi State out of it. In this conference, with the exception of two schools right now, it's the best of the best. There's a program coming out on Netflix about the Southeastern Conference. Why? Because it's the Southeastern Conference. Because this is where all of the best come to play. This is where championships live. So
that's right.
You're going to have those moments where either somebody sneaks up on you and gives you more than you thought they could that particular Saturday, or you overlooked them because you had another opponent that you're just itching to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another comment from a guy named Wizard. No way, we were talking about how good Alabama was, or they're going to be this year. No way, not with that lame QB. I project Alabama to finish with the same record they had last year, which was 9-3. Another guy responded to him in a true Alabama fashion. Matter of fact, his handle is named Bama, Bamuh, Bama. But he responded in a true Alabama fashion. That's because you're dumb. I mean, that's most Alabama fans' response is either this. When you say anything bad about their program, and I love Alabama, don't get me wrong, man, I think they're historic. I think they're a fantastic program. But most of their fans, and I know quite a few of them, they either do one thing. When you say anything bad, they have two responses. You're stupid or 18 national championships. That's all they got. That's what they say.
Yeah. But that's all they need.
It is true.
What else do you need?
You really don't need more than that. You don't need any more because, I talk about obnoxious Alabama fans all the time. But I usually say after that, they have a right to be obnoxious. 18 national championships.
The only thing that I would ask the Wizard to put is it the Wizard that said that's because you're – no, it was Alabama.
Bama, yeah.
He should have said that's because you're dumb, Bo, or that's because you're dumb, bruh. I needed one of those two just to round it out.
Yeah.
And really, I feel like that would let me know approximately geographically where you are in the state of Alabama. Like if you're on the west side, you're probably more of that's because you're Dumbo, right?
Yeah.
Because you're getting a little close to Cajun country over there.
That's right.
If you're on the eastern side of the state, I think you're still in that bruh.
There's a bruh. There's a BRH or BRAH.
No.
Bruh.
BRUH.
Oh, I always thought it was an AU.
Well, that's because you're dumb, bruh.
That's right. Look, let's go back to the dog bark, okay? And quit making fun of the dog. I did respond to that comment because I thought it was worth saying. I said, I do think that their offense could struggle at first, but the defense will carry them until things click. And I think that is probably pretty accurate. I think the defense will, new quarterback, new system, get it, got it, understand that. It's going to take a little bit for things to click. But the defense at Alabama is strong enough to carry them through. Just as Georgia, I would say Georgia's in that same boat. I mean, teams like South Carolina, they don't have to click right now because same guy under center. But these new programs, they need to click.
I think it's more dire for Georgia to get that offense to click as soon as possible. I think with DeBoer, you need to confess some things with your deep-seated emotional struggles. But I think with DeBoer, the offense has never been an issue for this guy, right? So I don't think that they're going to have a problem getting that offensive unit to click at Alabama. Defense, they're pretty well set. They're going to run like a freight train over everybody. Offense, I think that clicks pretty quickly, as in second half of the first game, if not opening kick. Georgia got, we all know who's calling the plays over there, and we all have our own individual feelings about that. But I think that Georgia is the one that's going to need to get some traction going offensively. The good news is they don't face each other in game one.
No.
So you got that going for you, Georgia fan. But if that's what we're looking at is, the defense will carry them until the offense clicks, that's going to happen pretty quickly.
Here's another comment. Artie Crowell said, while I agree that weird things happen in Jordan-Hare, you all were super high on Bama in any revenge game. Get ready for this because this is good. Maybe you forgot who Auburn's QB is. So this game will not only be treated as a rivalry game, but a revenge game as well. Tide rolls. And I agree with that because Arnold was the guy under center under Oklahoma that embarrassed Alabama. Well, he is now under center at Auburn. So it might be a little revenge against this kid too.
I don't disagree with that. I don't think that at any point Alabama comes into an Auburn matchup. It's the Iron Bowl. It's the last regular season game for these guys. Rivalry every year. So you're not looking past Auburn because who you're playing next week. There is no next week. Weird things happen. I don't care who's under center. I don't care if Joe Montana comes back, right? Like, and in his prime. Now wouldn't be good for anybody, but no. In his prime, put the best quarterback you can imagine under center for Auburn. I don't think that matters. I don't think it matters in a rivalry matchup like that to negate the fact that weird things happen in this game. We're certainly not saying that we think Alabama is going to lose that matchup. I think Alabama is going to win that matchup. I think I'm on tape saying that they're going to win that matchup. But it doesn't change the fact that it's a rivalry matchup. At this point, game 12 of the regular season, both teams have kind of figured out what they're all about. The chemistry is what the chemistry is going to be. And they just start smashing helmets.
Yeah. I got a couple more. One, I've got to mention this guy, Troy Morales. He is a return commenter. He came back and said, or I can't remember exactly which episode. Sorry, Troy, but he's commented on some of our other podcast
a couple different episodes.
Yeah,
different episodes. Troy commented on.
Yeah, he says, "Hey, here we go, guys. Watch y'all grow so far. Roll Tide. Keep on doing you." Thanks, man. Thanks for being a supporter.
Thanks, Troy. Appreciate the comments. Keep them coming.
Great to see returning people. Good to see you there, Troy.
Now, here's the guy that has gotten his doctorate at C&D University.
Our first doctoral candidate.
Oh, there's no doubt about this guy. No doubt. Because I think you'll agree. His name is Case Noodles. That's, I think.
Okay.
But he said, just found this podcast in my recommended feed. Loved the episode. I love that you guys are from all different fan bases, so we get to see your different perspectives. And I love to see the mutual Tennessee, hey, Roll Tide, SEC greater than any other conference.
Wow. I am blown away by your thesis, Case, Noodles, whatever. I don't know to call you Case.
Or Noodles.
Or Case O Noodles. I don't know where we're going with this. I will help you land on a good handle because I want more of your comments coming into our show. We might at some point need to find a way to get Case to write in a similar fashion that Kenny does. But yeah, kudos to you. Well thought out. And you're exactly right. Now, I don't know if I would go as far as hate of Tennessee, but again, I just don't like that word. I certainly don't appreciate them in any way, shape, or form. So there's that.
Yeah, and look,
did you know? I saw this. Sorry, just real quick because Case brought it up, so I want to thank him for this opportunity. I was looking at something on the internet. Did you know that there is a water tower painted Tennessee orange with the white T for Tennessee on it in Mosul, Iraq? That should tell you something, folks.
It's not good.
If Iraqis are pulling for your school, it might be time to change affiliations.
That's not good. Not good at all.
I apologize to any legitimate Iraqis out there who are not a problem.
Wrong type of volunteer.
Type of volunteer.
Yeah, right. That's right. That was pretty good, B-Dog. And look, I almost forgot this one because I have to mention it just because it is funny. A guy by the name of Adam East, in all capitals. So he's screaming it.
I know a guy named Adam West. He played Batman a long time ago.
No, this is Adam East. Diego Poverty Victim Pavia is going down. It's going down. I thought that was fantastic.
Most certainly an Alabama fan. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So, look, man, there's plenty more comments on there. And sorry I couldn't get to yours. Maybe we'll circle back and hit those in the upcoming episodes. But my gosh, guys, keep those comments coming on YouTube. All of those just came from YouTube. And we've got plenty of comments that happen on our TikTok as well as the Instagram. I mean, they're just, it's very, I guess, humbling. It warms my heart, man, to go through all these comments and see these things coming in, man, and that people are listening to us. You may have to check yourself into someplace if you really fall in love with Chicken and the Dog, because then something might really be wrong with you. But that's, maybe just the chicken.
Well, the other part to that whole comment is our listeners are obviously a massive part of the show.
For sure.
And without the listeners, it doesn't work. So to have those comments come in, we obviously get to have a good time with them. We get to recognize our listeners, not only for paying attention to us and helping the show grow, but to actually be a part of an episode. So keep the comments coming. We're gonna bring up the ones that we think fit best into an episode, but love the participation.
And they give us some content just to talk about. And that's the greatest thing, man. Like, you didn't have to bring anybody to school today.
I didn't. Today was an in-service day for me. I got to watch some growth in some students that, I'll say this about these guys, knew well enough not to comment until they had something insightful enough to comment about. And that is why you are not in Chicken 101. You have graduated. You are doctorals now. I am humbled. I'm borderline emotional, but for those that know me well, I don't have any emotions. But I'm right there at the cusp. I can almost feel it.
Yeah. All right. So that's enough of the dog bark. So let's dive into Texas A&M season. The
If we have to.
Screaming Aggies. Yes. Just like a little girl.
Practice. Maybe you'll sound like an older girl by the time season's here.
Or that. Thanks, B. So they open up with UT San Antonio. Then they take on Utah State. And then this is a game that they opened up with last year. They take on Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Then they have to play Auburn. Then they play Mississippi State. Then they take on Florida at home. Then they have to go to Arkansas and take on the Fighting Pittmans. Ooh, my gosh, man. 3 straight road games. Listen to this. Arkansas, LSU, and the even one at Missouri. Ooh. And then, even if you don't think that that's bad, then you come back home, yay, but you have to host South Carolina. Whew, what a tough schedule. Then you take on Samford, and then you finish the season with Texas at Texas. Maybe you'll have some revenge, but my gut tells me you're going to be beat up completely. So before we really start diving into these games, let's let the chicken go over some of their depth, and let's see how good A&M's talent looks like.
It's A&M, right? So Marcel Reed is going to be under center for you at quarterback. He had a pretty decent year last year, 10 games that he played in, threw for 1,800 yards, 15 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, ran the ball for 622 yards and 7 additional touchdowns. So a solid returner there at quarterback. Once you get past Marcel Reed, your number 2 guy is Jacob Zeno. He's not an unproductive quarterback. I think he's a solid number 2 for A&M, but he's not challenging for your starter role, I don't believe. And then back behind him is Miles O'Neill right now, a true freshman. Look for some things to happen there, hopefully with Marcel Reed being able to stay healthy all year. My concern is if he can't, what starts to happen. We talked about the offense for Alabama starting to click. If Marcel Reed can't stay healthy for the Aggies, their offense could start seeing some problems. The running back room, you've got Le'Veon Moss there as your current starter, platooning with Amari Daniels. Right now, Daniels is a little bit questionable. He didn't play in the spring game. He's trying to get over some injuries there. But he played in all 12 games last year, 138 rushes for 652 yards. So decent stats, right? But nothing really to jump up and scream about. Moss played in 9 games and ran the ball for 765 yards and 10 touchdowns. So he's really your top guy, but they'll be platooning as long as Daniels is healthy. And then you've got Reuben Owens. Reuben Owens is a 5-star sophomore, only played in 2 games last year, 66 yards. So again, there's just not a whole lot of meat yet. Now, is that because, and as I said, 9 games for Moss, 12 games for Daniels last year. Owens only played in 2. Is that because we haven't seen enough of these guys yet to really comment on how deep that room might be? Possibly. Possibly. At the wide receiver room, not a lot of difference there. Their starters are currently ranked as a B. Their depth at wide receiver is ranked at a B minus.
Yeah.
Casey Concepcion transfers in from NC State. He had 88 targets, 53 receptions for 460 yards and 6 touchdowns. So nothing really jumping out at you there. He's a slot guy, right? 5'11", slot receiver. Terry Busey, a 5-star coming out of high school. He played in 12 games last year, caught 16 passes for 208 yards. Go ahead.
Is he kin to Gary?
I don't know. I hope not.
Okay. I was just curious.
Things get weird if you're from that side of the Busey tree. Mario Carver had 368 yards last year through the air. He's a transfer in from Mississippi State, which, hey, you're moving up, Mario. Congrats.
Yeah.
You're not at Mississippi State anymore. But just, again, some unproven talent there at the wide receiver position.
Well, hey, just real quick about the wide receivers. Remember, sorry to interrupt you, but they lost their number one wide receiver last year, Noah Thomas, to who? Go Dogs.
Well, and that's kind of the point. The room that they've got, I'm hoping for Aggie fans, which hold this moment in your hearts because it doesn't come around often. I don't usually hope for T and A&M for anything. But my hope for your wide receiver position, my hope for your running back position is there's just talent there that we just don't have any proof of yet, right? Like that, we'll start to see some stuff on the field and it will translate into wins for the Aggies, because as the Aggies look good, so does the conference, and so does the win that South Carolina will have over you. I digress. The tight ends are not good. The starter is ranked as a C+, and the best thing we could say about him is he's balanced. He played in 12 games last year. They threw the ball to him 7 times, and he caught 6 of them for 102 yards, no touchdowns. He transferred in from Nebraska, so he's a new guy to the squad. Right, so the chemistry there, where is it with the quarterback position? Don't know. Everybody else is new either to the field. Keati Armstrong is a true freshman 4-star player, so he's not seen any collegiate snaps yet. It'll be interesting to see what he can bring to the table. 6'6", 265. So he's got the build that you're going to want, but everybody else in that tight end room is just unproven or a transfer in. The offensive line looks pretty solid. Nothing standout. Like they're not going to be one of your premier offensive lines in the conference. You've got Trezon III at left tackle, DeSantis at left guard. I won't even try the gentleman's name that's going to play center for these guys. I'm just going to call you KF. Right guard.
Or KFC.
Well, I don't
KF Center.
He probably spends time at KFC because he's on the O-line, and those guys need nourishment. But a lot of 3 and 4 stars, and I've said it before, I don't have a problem with 3 stars if they're coached up well, right? Like if you're 340 pounds, as long as somebody can coach you where to push this other dude to, you're probably going to be okay. So I think their offensive line is going to be all right. They've got some good depth in that room, so that bodes well for the offense. Defensively, they just, all in all, from a roster standpoint, a 10,000-foot view, looks like a balanced, middle-of-the-pack program this year. There's nothing that really jumps off the page at any position. A lot of 3 stars that are in your starting roles at the defensive line position. You've got some guys that transferred in. Searcy, Hayes, both of those guys transferred in. Searcy from Florida, Hayes from Pitt. Hayes is a grad student. He's an edge rusher there, but he's not even listed as a probable starter right now. So it's just a lot to be proven there. In the linebacker room, again, some 3 and 4 stars. York is probably going to be your starting guy there at outside linebacker. 13 games played last year, 55 tackles, 3 sacks, and he had a pick. Scooby Williams played a big role for A&M last year, or at Florida earlier, but I believe he played at A&M last year. Played in 11 games, had a pick. He had 38 tackles. I don't have any sacks for him last year. So just, again, not a jump off the page linebacker room, but balanced. Defensive backs, you start to see some promise. Des Ricks, a 5-star sophomore, had 13 games last year, 1 interception, only 4 tackles. So it's, again, hopefully he was a shutdown corner and they just didn't throw to his side a lot. Will Lee, 3-star senior. Okay, this guy played in 12 games last year, 10 tackles, 2 interceptions, but just Elko is still in the building process. Let's not forget that, right? They had a good year last year for a first-year coach. I think they're going to have some struggles this year. We'll get into that in a minute, but I still think that we're in the building process. Don't expect to see flashes of greatness yet from Texas A&M, but I think that there's a lot of methodical building going on here with Elko. I think he's trying to bring in the right foundational guys, not the guys that are going to take the world by storm and make everybody turn their heads towards what A&M is doing, but more so in a respect fashion that we can't overlook A&M, and give them another year or two, and they're back up there challenging for championships and certainly playoffs at A&M, at Kyle Field.
Yeah, I've got a couple things on that I wrote down. First and foremost, this is as you're going through the roster, this is a far cry from where they were 2 or 3 years ago. You remember 2 or 3 years ago when Jimbo Fisher had that record-breaking recruiting class? I mean, they were the I think they said they had the best recruiting class in history. And most of those guys are gone. And so you look at that and you say, wow, I guess the playing field is more even now with NIL. I don't know. But the other thing is, we talk about Elko, and I think Elko's a good coach. I think we talked about this before. Texas A&M has to stick with this guy and let him go through the challenges and, like you said, methodically building this program up, right? But does Elko is this his second-year slump that we just saw Hugh Freeze have? Hugh Freeze's season last year was terrible. We talked about that. Is this his second-year slump season? Is it a downward season from last year? What you think?
I don't think it'll be that dramatic. I think that it could be a slump season, and we'll get into that in a minute when we start going through the schedule and we do our individual forecasts of wins and losses. I don't think it'll be as dramatic because when it happened with Auburn last year, one week you're like, wow, Auburn's playing pretty well. The next week you're like, well, these guys might be for real. And then the week after that, you're like, what happened? How many flat tires did they have on the way to the game? I look at this roster that Elko is putting together, and this is why I think that they're going to have a down or second-year slump type of season, is because the lack of experience. Again, a lot of these players are 3 and 4 stars. You've got some 5 stars on the roster, but they just don't have a wealth of experience at any position and therefore on either side of the ball. You've got 5 guys that are coming in the defensive back room, or maybe, 6 that are 4-star players. 4 of them are corners and 2 of them are safeties. You've got guys that have transferred in from other programs. Julian Humphrey, a 4-star player, transfers in from UGA, right? So you've got some solid players that are coming in, some true freshmen that are coming in that I think that he's going to be building something with. What's it going to look like on the field this year? Nothing real pretty, I don't think. I think the record is going to make it look like, golly, this wasn't a good year. But I think it will be a good year because I think that you're going to be bringing that experience in. You're probably going to see a lot of young guys actually getting some solid playing time, some good reps on the field, to where next year nobody overlooks A&M. I don't think anybody overlooks A&M, period.
No, I don't think you should.
But next year, there'll be a higher level of respect. And the year after that, in my personal forecast, is where they legitimately, from opening kick, game 1, are a playoff team contender.
So you think in 2027 they're a playoff contender?
That's what I'm looking at right now. Now, listen.
Potentially, I see that.
Everybody's roster changes every year. So you never know who's going to come in and make you even better or who's going to leave and take the wind out of your sails. Nico. But what I'm looking at right here, hey, Nico. What I look at right here is a lot of promise for the Aggies and a lot of opportunity to give them something to scream about.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, man, before we dive into their games, Chicken, I don't know. Well, you haven't because you've been covering the depth chart. So you haven't had a chance to look at your phone. But you and I just got a group text from someone. Uncle Kenny is alive. Uncle Kenny is up and running. And so we have a breaking news right now for those that have followed us last season or have gone back and listened to the old shows and miss Uncle Kenny's write-ups. We are going to have an Uncle Kenny write-up on the next show. And look, for those that have not heard it, get ready. It is awesome.
My Uncle Kenny is one of those individuals that comes in and out both of consciousness and also in and out of my life. There are seasons where he's doing something legitimate, studying the migratory patterns of various bird life. And then there are seasons where he's just been on a binger and you can't find the guy.
He might be at a park bench somewhere. Who knows?
He might be at a park bench, slumped over behind a dumpster in some dark alley. You never can tell. Or following the latest tent revival. You never know with the guy. He's just a joy to hear from, but I look forward to the insight that he sometimes brings.
Absolutely. It's always great to hear from Uncle Kenny.
That's right.
Now, let's go over some games.
Let's dive in.
All right. We're going to skip UT San Antonio, win. Utah State, win. Notre Dame, their third game of the season at Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. You and I have been there. I think A&M travels well, so there could be a lot of it could be a lot of khaki in that stadium.
Could be, which would contrast with all the green.
Yes, it would not be a good look.
Right.
I think this game can really determine. Well, I say that. I was going to say it can determine their season, but I don't think so because here's the deal. Notre Dame is going to look a little different this year than they did last year. Riley Leonard's gone. They lost several people to the draft. So I don't know because we're an SEC team, podcast. I don't know what the depth chart looks at Notre Dame. I'm sure it's pretty good. Marcus Freeman is doing a good job as coaching there. This game's a toss-up for me. I really don't know.
That if this game were played at a neutral site. Because I'm tracking with you in that, like we said, Elko is still building at A&M because say what you want about the A&M program historically. I don't think Jimbo did them any real favors.
No.
Right? So when Elko comes into this program, to the average viewer, to the average college football fan, well, Jimbo Fisher brought in this recruiting class and that recruiting class and Elko he's going to be just taking off game one. No, as Lee Corso used to say, not so fast, my friend. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of rebuilding. Think about an older home that has to have the foundation jacked up just to kind of shore up what's underneath. That's what's going on at A&M right now. There's a lot of shoring up of the Aggies foundation. Notre Dame, great run last year, make it all the way to the championship game, right? But as you mentioned, your starting quarterback is gone. A lot of other players gone to the NFL. But Freeman has been at Notre Dame, rebuilding the Notre Dame longer than Elko has been at A&M. This game is in South Bend. It's in South Bend at a time of year where you and I were actually there. It mirrors our trip to South Bend several years ago, just based on the time of year it is in September. So it's not a situation good thing for A&M where, oh, wow, the weather will be against them. No, it's still pretty pleasant that time of year up in Indiana. But it's at Notre Dame. It's at 7:30 at night. I like Notre Dame in this game. I think this is the first loss of the season for A&M.
I'm going to go with A&M.
Okay, so you've got them 3-0 going to Auburn. I've got them at 2-1.
Yep. Then they bring Auburn home. They have Auburn at home, and I think Auburn wins that game. I think Auburn's going to have a good season.
I don't disagree. So at this point in the year, I'm looking at a 2-2 A&M squad.
Yeah, I'm looking at a 3-1. And then luck will have it that you take on Mississippi State at home. That's a win.
That should be a win. That's right.
And I'm about to deliver you your second loss. Next, you got 3 straight home games. And that third home game is with Florida. And I think Billy Napier is going to have a decent year this year in Florida. And I think Florida wins that game.
I agree. I think Florida wins this game. I think that it's going to be by 2 touchdowns at least. I think that the Gators are going to look really good this year. A lot of that hangs on Lagway staying healthy.
Yes.
But I think that Florida's going to come out on top in this one.
The other thing that may actually truly start the downfall, the downward spiral for the Aggies, because next they have to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and take on the Fighting Pittmans. And I like what Pittman's doing there. We're big on Pittman. We love the guy for sure. I think they've got a young, good quarterback. You've said it in the past on a previous show. You believe that no one's really talking about Green, but Green will be in everybody's verbiage by the end of this season. People are going to be talking about this guy, and I am going to agree with you. I think Arkansas wins this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're 3-3 going into Arkansas, and I think you leave 3-4.
Yeah. Then you take on LSU in Baton Rouge, and sorry, not happening. I think Nussmeier is, right now, Nussmeier is one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy. I think that's a legit thing. He has the potential of having a Joe Burrow-esque season at LSU. I think LSU just rolls over the Aggies.
There's something about Coach Kelly at LSU that I can't quite put my, like, you never know based on the way he talks. Like, okay, do you buy stock in the Bayou Bengals right now, or is this just a bunch of hot air and they're probably going to underperform? I just don't know. He's that kind of guy as a head coach, but Nussmeier is for real. And I think he's going to light the Aggies up in Baton Rouge that night. It's listed as a to be determined kick. Let's be serious. It's going to be night. It's going to be in Baton Rouge. It's going to be electric. Tickets, this game's going to be sold out. You're going to lose to LSU.
But I think they win this next game. They go, this is their third straight road game. They go to Columbia, Missouri, and take on the evil one. And I think by this point, they may try to Missouri may try to overlook the Aggies, and I think the Aggies pull out a win against Missouri.
I agree. I think that we learn a lot through adversity. And I think that the previous games, dropping to Florida, dropping to Arkansas, dropping to LSU, I think A&M is going to learn a lot about themselves. Again, we've talked about it before. Elko's a good coach.
That's right.
And the point of this season, I believe, is going to be building that experience to continue to take this program forward back to where they belong as a championship contender. I think that there are a lot of lessons learned in the previous 3 weeks, the previous 3 losses, that coming into Columbia, Missouri, I think they hand the Tigers a loss.
Yeah, and then the next game, I'm going to use one of our famous lines that we've said for many, many, many years is hold up, swole up. Next, you host the South Carolina Gamecocks, and I'm sorry, guys, I think that's a loss.
I agree. I think it will be close.
They always play close.
Well, we've kind of torched them before. But I think that this game will be close because, again, I think that this is a learning season for A&M. I think that this will be a good game.
I do too.
I don't think that you're going to look at A&M and say, well, gosh, if they were only better. I think A&M is going to play an A game in this matchup. I think that South Carolina is going to have to play their A game, or this could be a matchup that South Carolina ends up looking back over their shoulder and going, golly, we should have beaten these guys. I don't think they will. I think that Carolina is going to win this game by a touchdown, but I think it's going to be fun to watch the whole way through. I think A&M shows us that they're a real program on the mend here. And while it will translate to a loss, I think it'll be one of those that you can say, well, I mean, it was a good loss.
Yeah. The good thing is you're going to win your next game. You take on Samford. So that's a win. And then you go last game of the season, you go to Austin, Texas, and take on that burnt orange team. And I'm going to let you go first.
Again, it's a rivalry game. It's a rivalry game that's been brought back to life by none other than Greg Sankey and the SEC.
That's right.
Thank you, Commissioner Sankey.
For sure.
For bringing that back just to college football. College football deserves this rivalry game.
College football is better because of this rivalry game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm glad that we have this one back. I'm glad that it's in the best conference on earth. That said, you got to go to Austin. Now, we've made comments before about Arch Manning. What's Texas really going to look? We know what they're supposed to look like. We know what we've forecasted them to look like. But what happens when you really put it on the field at this point in the season for 11 games? You're going into game 12 here. So what's the reality of the Longhorns with Arch Manning under center? What has A&M grown to by this point in the season? Talked about it a second ago with the South Carolina game. That we think is going to end up being close and that A&M is going to start putting some things together. This could be a really good matchup. I think A&M by 3.
Wow. I don't know if there's much more to say after that, to be honest with you. I think that everybody and their mother, besides the chicken, and now the dog, would pick Texas in that game. Look, Joel, Jimmy, Mike, my guys over in Austin, the Austin area, I've got a lot of buddies over there. I just don't hate me for this, but I think A&M wins this game. I do. I think it's that rivalry that plays into it. I think there's a lot. I think Texas will be on high alert because of where they're going to be at that point in the season. This game is probably going to determine whether or not they make the SEC championship or not. It's a good possibility. And I think that pressure, Arch Manning in Austin, all that should go your way, right? I just don't think it does. I think A&M pulls out the upset and seeks a little bit revenge for coming to their house last year and taking the win. I think A&M wins the game. But I think it's close, like you said, by field goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this too. For all the Longhorn people that are probably going to want to write into the show now and make their comments about how stupid I am, I think that Texas is a playoff school. I think that Texas is back in the mix for the playoffs again this year. I don't think that Arch Manning is going to be a bust of any sort.
Nope.
But I don't see you going undefeated either. And I see this as being a loss for the Longhorns. Again, Mike Elko is building a program at Texas A&M, and he's building one that is going to demand to be recognized. And this is how you do that. Unfortunately, you go 6-6, but win number 6 comes at the expense of your arch rival in-state, Arch Manning, Texas Longhorns going down A&M by 3 on November the 20th.
Yeah, I think there's a really good chance that Texas is 10-1 going into this game. Yeah. And that A&M delivers them their second loss, conference loss. I think they lose to Georgia and Athens. I don't think they win that game, and I think that Texas A&M could actually win this game. I really do. But look, I think all in all, the Aggie season, I know we kind of gave a lot of doom and gloom on some of these games, right? Like you said earlier, on paper, it doesn't look good. But if you can look at the big picture, like you said, it should be a good season for Elko and the Texas Aggies, and I think they'll do fine. I think this is, like you said, a building This is going to be a building season for them to catapult them into the mix in 26 or 27, especially if they go 16-team playoffs.
I believe, again, getting back to what Elko is doing, I believe that he is going to present the Screaming Faithful a feast of victories. Right now, you guys are at Costco, and he's buying the groceries, okay? You ain't there yet. He hadn't cooked nothing. But it's coming. You're going to have to get through some challenging moments, maybe some losses that aren't good losses, maybe that aren't pretty. You know, maybe Florida embarrasses you. Maybe the Fighting Pitmans make it look like you showed up to an NFL stadium instead of a college stadium. I don't know. There's going to be some rocky moments on this path. But what's cooking in the kitchen is going to be delicious. And I think that you folks are going to start, rubbing your fat tummies one day instead of having to practice yelling.
Yeah, I think that Texas game could be their Wagyu moment.
Boom.
That just happened. That just happened. But yeah, I think all in all, I think A&M is going to have a really good building season this year. We want, as much as you pick on the screaming Aggies and, you make fun of their yelling and stuff like that, we want A&M to be relevant in the SEC. We're going to pull for every SEC's team as long as they're not playing our team. We think that it's good for the conference to have not only the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Texas winning. We want the South Carolinas. We want the Aggies. We want the Tigers, and that could be LSU or the War Eagle Tigers, either one of them. We want all of these teams winning. The Gators is better for college football if they're relevant, and so that's what we want to see out of the Aggies this year. Look, man, I'm done. You got any last comments?
The only other thing, and this is my last chicken scratch moment of the episode, again, Chicken Scratch brought to you by OTC Kennels on Facebook and Instagram, is with what I've brought to you so far, listener, Dawg, do you believe, as I do, that Elko is putting something special together to where I will borrow the phrase of our president, that they will, at some point, get sick of winning? So I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about what he's putting together going forward, that A&M will at one point, 2-3 years from now, be able to look back and go, wow, this is another win. It's kind of, remember when games used to be challenging? Remember when we'd lose one and wonder if we were going to make the playoffs? But now it's like a done deal. You might as well go on and book your flights in July.
Well, here's why I say no. I don't think there's a team in the SEC that's going to be there moving forward. I think that the talent level in the SEC is so strong and so good that any given Saturday, a team can go down. An Alabama, a Georgia, a South Carolina, a Florida, an LSU, an Ole Miss. Any of these teams can go down. And I don't think any SEC team should ever feel comfortable going into another SEC game. I think those days are over. I do.
And I don't disagree with that on a regular season scope. What I'm alluding to, and there's already talk about expanding the playoffs, right? Which means even after they expand it, there'll probably be talk about expanding it again.
Sure.
Okay, because why? Well, there's money involved. As long as we're all watching the games, which we will, they'll find a way to put more of them on television. I'm talking about from the standpoint of, I think that Elko is putting something together here that will translate into a regular position in the playoffs. North Carolina is a great example of this with what they do in March Madness, right? Like, you expect the University of North Carolina to be in March Madness every year, even where they've had kind of a weird season, regular season that doesn't necessarily look all that great. Maybe they didn't win the ACC championship, but they still get into the play. That's what I see coming for Texas A&M under Mike Elko. Now, again, Aggie fan, you got to be patient and hang on.
I agree.
Let the chef cook his meal. But if you can do that, I think that some really bright things are down the road for the Aggies.
Yeah, so looking at it like that, I will agree with you as far as in a couple of years, will the Aggies be at a point where, and I'm just going to say it, where Georgia and Texas is right now. And I normally would say Alabama, with the exception that they didn't make the playoffs last year. So let's just stick with the Georgia and Texas right now. Georgia and Texas fan base and most college football experts will tell you they're probably going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs, right? Now, does that translate that they're automatically in? No. They still have to play the games. They still have to win. But most people think that they're probably a shoe-in to make the playoffs. Will A&M, especially if they expand to 16 teams, will they be there in a couple of years? Could be. Very well could be. I would agree with that very much. So, like you said, hang on, fans. Give this guy some time. I think he's building great things. Oh, Elko. Look, man, that's all I got. Are you good?
I am all crowed out.
All right, look, guys, hey, keep following us. Keep subscribing to us on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Those platforms are growing crazy for us, and we really appreciate what y'all are doing. Keep the comments coming. You may make the classroom if the comment's not that great. If it's great, I mean, you saw a couple people graduated today.
You can graduate early.
That's right. So, I mean, who doesn't want to graduate early with a degree from C&D? That's right. All right, guys, like us, love us, follow us, subscribe. Deuces.